is a jasmine pit flower.
In the quiet corners of botanical gardens, a star-shaped bloom unfolds. The pinwheel jasmine, known to science as Tabernamontana divaricata. This evergreen shrub has long captivated people not only for its beauty but also for its hidden chemistry and cultural value. Despite its name, the pinwheel jasmine is not a true jasmine. Instead, it belongs to the Dogbane family, Apocynaceae. Like all flowering plants, it is an angiosperm, producing seeds enclosed within fruit, a key feature that sets them apart in the plant kingdom. Taxonomically, this plant can be traced from the kingdom Plantae to the division Magnoliophyta, the class Magnoliopsida, the order Gentianales, and finally the genus Tabernamontana with the species Divaricata, celebrated across the tropics. Other angiosperms, like the red plumeria, with its crimson petals, are known for its sweet fragrance that lingers in the air, especially at night. Often used in traditional ceremonies, the plumeria symbolizes love, grace, and new beginnings. Even though they are both angiosperms within the same family, plumeria differs from pinwheel jasmines because of their genus and species. While pinwheel jasmines are known as Tabernamontana divaricata, the plumeria is known as Plumeria rubra. Even though they are very similar, this flower is native to South and Southeast Asia. The pinwheel jasmine thrives in warm, humid climates, growing between 1 to 3 meters tall. It keeps its green leaves year-round. Its bright white blossoms, curling like spinning wheels, release their fragrance at dusk, drawing in pollinators such as moths. Once pollinated, the plants produce paired fruits called follicles, each filled with numerous seeds. This ability to protect and disperse seeds is what makes angiosperms so successful, dominating landscapes across the globe. But the pinwheel jasmine is more than ornamental. For centuries, traditional medicine has turned to it for treating fever, pain, and wounds. Scientists have discovered that the plant contains indole alkaloids, powerful compounds with both healing and toxic risks. Nature's remedies and poisons often grow on the same stem. The water lily, which belongs to the family Nymphaceae, is another example. Floating like a jewel upon calm waters, it has long been admired as a symbol of purity and tranquility. Yet beyond its beauty, the water lily also has been treasured as a traditional medicine. Its roots and petals were once used to ease inflammation, soothe pain, and calm the restless mind. Both delicate and powerful, the water lily shows us how healing can be found in the most unexpected places. Like all plants, it faces threats of its own. Fungal diseases such as leaf spots and pests like caterpillars, aphids, and scales may damage its foliage. Yet with care and resilience, the pinwheel jasmine continues to thrive, gracing gardens with year-round blossoms. The pinwheel jasmine, Tabernamontana divaricata, a shining example of an angiosperm, one of the flowering plants whose seeds are safely enclosed within fruits. Their beauty and diversity makes them the most widespread plants on Earth. But not all plants bear flowers. Some may rely on cones instead, like gymnosperms.
And here, among the shaded forest floors, pteridophyte like ferns thrive. They don't produce seeds at all, but instead, they release spores into the wind. Plants are among the oldest organisms on Earth. They provide us with oxygen, food, shelter, and tell the long story of how life evolved from water to land. Among the many plant groups, one fascinating division is the Pteridophyta. These are the seedless vascular plants, most commonly recognized as ferns, and they are allies. Pteridophytes were among the first vascular plants to colonize land. Unlike mosses, they have true roots, stems, and leaves. But unlike flowering plants, they do not produce seeds or fruits. Instead, they reproduce by spores. Later, I will be explaining their taxonomy, life cycle, habitat, and their importance in medicine. All living organisms are classified in a hierarchy, from the broadest level down to the most specific. Pteridophytes or seedless vascular plants belong to the domain Eukarya because their cell contain a true nucleus. They are part of the kingdom Plantae, which includes all multicellular photosynthesis organisms with cellulose wall. Within this kingdom, they fall under division Pteridophyta. These are the vascular plants with true roots, stems, and leaves, but they reproduce by spores rather than seeds and flowers. At the class level, Pteridophytes include the true ferns, club mosses, horsetails, and whisk ferns. Examining Nephrolapis biserata, we see how Pteridophytes fits into the broader taxonomy from domain to species.
Nephrolapis biserata, also known as the giant's sword fern. It belongs to the kingdom Plantae, the vast world of green plants. From there, it is placed in the domain Pteridophyta, vascular plants that reproduce not by seeds but by spores. Within this domain, it falls under the class Polypodiopsida, the true ferns. Its order is Polypodiales, one of the most diverse groups of ferns on Earth. Narrowing further, it belongs to the family Nephrolapidaceae, known for creeping rhizomes and elegant fronds. Finally, within the genus Nephrolapis, the species is Biserata. This taxonomy reveals the ancient heritage of the giant sword fern, a survivor that has thrived for millions of years, shaping the lush landscapes of the tropics.
The dominant stage is the sporophyte. On the leafy fern, we recognize. On the underside of the fronds are sori, which contains sporangia that release spores. When a spore germinates, it develops into a small, heart-shaped gametophyte called prothallus. This stage carries both male and female reproductive organs. With the help of water, sperm fertilizes the egg, producing a zygote. Then the zygote grows into a new sporophyte, continuing the cycle. Pteridophytes thrive in moist, shaded environments. They are most abundant in rainforests, along riverbanks, and in damp valleys. Because fertilization requires water, they are rarely found in dry regions. Some species can grow on rocks and walls, while others live as epiphytes on trees. Their presence is often a sign of a healthy, humid ecosystem. Beyond their ecological roles, ferns also provided medical importance. The giant sword ferns, Nephrolapis biserata, is used in traditional medicine for treating fever and cough. Extracts from its fronds are being studied for antioxidant and antimicrobial properties. More broadly, many ferns are valued in herbal remedies for skin condition, wounds, and inflammation. This shows how biodiversity, even common plants like fern, can contribute in medical importance. In conclusion, Pteridophytes are seedless vascular plants with fascinating taxonomy, a unique life cycle, and important ecological and medicinal roles. From their classification down to their uses, they remain as an essential link in the evolution of plants and in the balance of our natural world.
And even more primitive plants exist, plants that lack true roots and vessels.
Bryophyta are categorized as phylum, a subdivision in the kingdom Plantae that includes plants like mosses. Historically, Bryophyta was a big group plants that covers plants like liverworts, hornworts, and mosses. But nowadays, during the modern classification, Bryophyta are typically known as true mosses. So where do they usually live? Where can you usually find them? Their habitat are typically in moisty places and shady places. For example, rocks, tree barks, near water stream like the drain, and forest floors. Why Bryophytas are typically found in moisty and shady environments? Because Bryophyta are a type of non-vascular plant. Means they do not have xylem and phloem, which helps them transport nutrient and water throughout the plants. But they do rely on osmosis and diffusion of water within its surrounding. That is why moisty area are crucial for its survival. Other than that, they lack roots, but they do have rhizoids, which helps them anchor to the soil, but do not absorb that much of water like how roots does. You see here on a healthy moss, and you flip it upside down, you can see the rhizoids. They look like roots, but they are not. They are actually not roots. And lastly, is to reduce stress. Under shady environments, the tree and leaf helps prevent the moss from direct sunlight. This process is called desiccation. Let's have a look here. Desiccation is a process of extreme dryness or dehydration, which result in dryness. This is a healthy moss, and this is an unhealthy moss, which is already dead. So let me explain you the life cycle of a bryophyte. We aren't able to find a spore, so I'm just going to explain it to you. It all starts with its parents, the Enterida, which is the male organ that produces sperm, uses rain or dew to allow the sperm to swim to the egg, from the Archegonia, which is the female's organ that produces eggs. Fertilization occurs, forming a new zygote, which is diploid. The zygote will then grow into a sporophyte attached to a gametophyte that helps it with nutrients. The sporophyte consists of three parts, which is the fruit, seta, and the capsule. Inside the capsule, meiosis occurs, producing new haploid genes. Once the capsule is matured, the capsule will dry out and open its mouth. The sporophyte will then release its spores into the environment. The spores will then germinate into a healthy moss. Thus, the cycle continues. Although Bryophyta are not pathogen, but they may serve habitat for other microbes. Most well-known pathogen is called Sporothrix scansky. When contaminated moss enters our body through cut, small red bumps that develops into an ulcer may appear on our skin, as well as it can spread along our lymphatic vessel. This is called lymphocutaneous sporotrichosis. You may wonder, what are the benefits of Bryophyta in the medical field? During World War I, combat medic doctors can use sphagnum moss as dressing wounds. This is because sphagnum moss has the ability to absorb blood and pus, and it also has mild antiseptic properties. Other than that, it can also absorb up to 20 times its weight in water. This makes good for covering up wounds, knee injuries without causing infections. Other than that, environmentally, peat, also known as dead sphagnum, are used as fuel in some countries, and peat bogs helps slow down climate changes by storing carbon. But beyond plants, life has evolved into creatures with backbones.
Hello, my name is Sharvin, and for my part of this assignment, I'll be explaining about Chordata. Okay, you see, the domestic cat is an example of the phylum Chordata, a group of animals that share 4 key characteristics at some stage of life: a notochord, a dorsal hollow nerve, pharyngeal slits or pouches, and a post-anal tail. In cats, the notochord is replaced by a vertebral column, making them part of the subphylum Vertebra, which explains the, spine over here. The dorsal nerve cord develops into the spinal cord and brain, allowing fast communication within the body. Cats, like other mammals, belong to the class Mammalia, which is defined by their hair, mammary glands, and endothermy. They also show advanced cephalization with well-developed senses such as vision, hearing, and even scent. Okay. Even though features like pharyngeal slits are only seen during the embryonic stages, the post-anal tail, as you can see here, cute, isn't it? is clearly visible in the cat's body. Thus, the cat demonstrates all the defining traits of Chordata, while also highlighting the special adaptations of mammals, post-evolution. Thank you. Okay, today let's talk about the evolution of Chordata, exploring the journey to the domestic cat. through the evolutionary history. That's right. And exploring the defining characteristics that unite all chordates, because as we know, most multicellular, like example like cat, humans, and all are chordates after all. So the most notable key characteristics of chordata are notochord. As I've explained in my previous video, it's a flexible rod that supports the body, in which case of a cat is a spine actually. Okay, let's go towards the pharyngeal slits. Pharyngeal slits are sort of like filter feeding structures in previous chordates. For example, like ones that aren't so complex, like I've had examples below which I'll show later. And we can also include the post-anal tail. It extends beyond the anus and provides locomotion advantages and enhancing agility. And for cats especially, you know how useful they are. So for the dorsal hollow nerve cord, as we all know, they have to have a central nervous system to function. So this is very important towards vertebrates as well. Okay, this is like few diagrams I found on the internet about chordates. And then we are looking towards the major subphyla of chordata, which are cephalochordata, urochordata, and vertebra relationships. Okay, these three will provide deeper understanding towards the evolutionary context that leads to the diverse forms, including mammals and our domestic cats. Okay, over here the image is an example of a phylogenetic tree. As we all know, phylogenetic tree is one of like the main examples of evolution, and it works pretty well in describing how animals evolved from one to another. Okay, let's talk about the major subphyla of chordata, which are cephalochordata, urochordata, and vertebra. Here we have examples of a cephalochordata. They are mainly primitive marine filter feeders. As you can see, these are what evolved into our current modern chordatas as we know currently. And then there is a urochordata, which are tunicates. They possess a few features such as spines, post-anal tail, as you can see in this, little things here. And they often lose these traits and become sessile later on. Okay, now how does all of this work in favor of the cat? Okay, this one I'm here to explain for. Okay, this diagram over here, as I've said, it's a phylogenetic tree, right? It explains the development of vertebra from primitive examples, including the emergence of jaws, limbs, and warm-bloodedness. As we all know how important warm-bloodedness is for mammals especially. Cold-blooded are for reptiles like alligators and etc. Okay, now let's talk about the evolution of the domestic cat. As we all know, the scientific name is Felis catus. Felis, as we know, we've learned in the previous chapters, and it's through the Felidae family. As we all know, big cats, they have this feline, and understanding these connections explain how domestic cats evolved from wild ancestors. As we all know, big cats and domestic cats, they've probably once shared the same ancestor, and through different environments, they evolved differently to better suit their environment as well, while retaining their features and showcasing rich biological heritage. Okay, now let's talk about anatomy, of which most of us here for. Okay, we can talk about the skeletal structure at first. There is the vertebral column that provides support, and the skull adaptations, as we know, they have jaws, they have hard snapping heads. It gives them agility and precision while hunting their prey. As we all know, they need food, so this is important. Hunting is especially important. And a well-developed brain is the main part of the nervous system, so it provides advanced sensory organs which enable effective environmental understanding. Like, we would not understand the environment as it is without a proper senses. Okay, and then they have adaptations such as retractable claws and night vision especially, and their tail actually aids in balance during rapid movements. So yeah, that's one useful tip as well.
As you all know, here we have like a few cat images, as examples. These are basically highlighting the characteristics of chordata, which are expressed in the domestic cats and showcases their evolutionary journey. So that is all from Sharvin here, so thank you.
Hello everyone, today I'll be talking about mushrooms, their introduction, taxonomy, life cycle, habitat and their importance. Mushrooms are fruiting bodies of certain fungi. They are belonging to the phylum Basidomycota. Though some are Esomycota, they are typically shaped from cap, stalk, gills or paw where spores are produced. Mushrooms are important as decomposers in ecosystem, and many species are edible while others are toxic and medicinal. Taxonomy of mushrooms: kingdom, fungi. Phylum is Basidomycota. Class is Agromycete. Order is Agricales. This is the example. Habitat: mushrooms grow in various of habitat, usually in moist or nutrition-rich environments, like forests, on soil decaying wood or leaf litter, grassland and gardens, especially after rain. Life cycle: mushrooms have typically fungal life cycle involving spores and mycelium. Spores release from gills and spores until mushroom caps. Germination: spores grow into thread-like structures called hyphae. Medical values of mushroom. Mushrooms are highly valued in medicine for their bioactive components. For example, anti-cancer properties. Some mushrooms produce components that supports immune function. Next up, cholesterol and blood pressure regulation. Certain mushrooms help with lowering cholesterol and improving heart health. Next up, antimicrobial agents. Some mushrooms produce substance with antibacterial and antifungal activities. Nutritional value: rich in protein, vitamin B, D and minerals. That's all.